wasted last week. So I'm like super new.
Sounds like you were like, does that mean stolen? Like boosted?
I know. You're really living inside the book. I really am living in that spy novel.
Welcome everybody. I'm going to give us a quick introduction. Welcome to everybody online tuning in now or later. Welcome to our authors. So we're glad everybody could be here this evening. This is actually our only second in-person in the store event since all of the COVID beginnings. So we're excited that we're actually having people back in the store. So, and I think it was in July that we started talking about this event.
Yeah.
So I know at that time we were like, well, we'll do it in person if we can. Exactly. So I'm just going to introduce the authors, and then you guys aren't here to hear me. So Christina Diaz Gonzalez is an award-winning author and has received numerous honors and recognitions for her books. She's here tonight celebrating her new action-packed story for young readers called Concealed. Danielle Joseph is the author of several young adult novels and adds to her list with today's new release of Sydney A. Frankel's Summer Mix-Up for young readers. And then I'm going to hand things over to Wendy. Wendy Shang was gracious enough to step in and help us out tonight. Her partner in crime, co-writer Madeline Rosenberg had hoped to be here, but had to step out at the last minute. So Wendy was gracious enough to step in and help, and we are so happy to have her here all the time.
Oh my goodness. Well, absolutely my pleasure. Living up my fantasy of being a bookseller. No, I'm so excited to be here with these two talented authors, and I think it just speaks to the power of middle grade that you can have like a theme like identity and just have it come out in just two completely different ways. You know, we have an edge of your seat, novel. We have this other beautiful book full of humor and heart, and I was wondering if you guys could just start us off by reading from your new fabulous books.
Sure. Danielle, you want to start?
Sure. Okay, I will just set you up where we are in the book. This is in the first chapter, about halfway through. Sydney A. Frankel is told by her mother that she needs to pick a summer class, and she has 40 minutes left to pick the summer class, or her mother will pick it for her. Sydney and her mom are not kind of at odds because Sydney really wants to take a reading class, and her mother says she can take anything but reading. So Sydney does the only thing she can think of and runs over to her best friend Maggie's house, and so that's where I'm going to start. And I just need to find that spot so if someone wants to sing. No, I'm just kidding. I do need to find that spot for you. I'm just going to go about halfway through so that, let's see. Oh, sorry about that, everybody.
You say a Jeopardy song?
Yeah.
Do a little juggling.
Yeah, I know.
It's like a workshop. Like I know exactly what it is, and the words are like, ha ha.
Okay.
No way. All right.
So, yeah, this is, I don't know why I'm not in the right marked up. Do you have to?
Do I don't need to go first?
You don't even want to read my book. Okay, hold on. Let me get over to Maggie's house. Sorry about this.
This book reminds me of
Yeah.
Oh no, I have a niece who loves to read, like almost excessively. And so I was like, I totally understood this thing where the mom's like, anything but reading.
Right, exactly. And it's that forced, you have to choose something.
Yes. Okay, here we are. I ring the bell and see Maggie's big blue eyes filling the small square of stained glass in the middle of the door. It's me, I wave. There are a lot of me's in the world. Better identify yourself, she says in a deep voice. I'm a spy and I come undercover. Your people sent me. I still need a name. Victoria von Fartstein. The door swings open. Nice to meet you, Vicky von Fart, she laughs. Man, wouldn't that stink if that was your last name? I say, yeah, literally, Maggie laughs again. Her curly hair is damp, much tamer than usual. She's lucky because she hardly ever has to brush it, and like me with my thick, straight hair that knots up in a second. Since Maggie's last name is Stein, together we are Frankelstein. We've been best friends since kindergarten, but it took us until second grade to put the two names together. I follow her into the kitchen and sit down at the counter. Got any soda? My mom's driving me nuts. Sure, Maggie opens the fridge. Has she banned all flavored beverages again? Worse. Oh no. Well, it can't be worse than my news. We each grab a soda and head for her room. Maggie's dog Butter runs after us and licks my ankle. I crouch down to pet him. Hi, Butter, I missed you too. He's a feisty Pomeranian, and for a small dog, he's not afraid of anything. He's definitely Maggie's mini-me. I sit down at Maggie's big pink desk. My mom's making me take a class at the community center, and if I don't take it, she's never getting me a cell phone. Maggie's mouth drops. No phone? She's making me pick a class from this. I slapped the brochure onto her desk. Don't bother, I've seen it, Maggie huffs. What? My mom showed it to you? No, Maggie takes a sip of her soda. My mom showed it to me. Even worse, why would my mom get your mom involved, I asked. Is she trying to destroy me? No, my mom wants me to take a class too. Actually, she already signed me up. Really? Which class? Reading. Maggie flops down onto her bed. Ugh, it's gonna stink. Not fair, I pout. My mom said I could take any class but reading. You're so lucky, Maggie grabs the brochure from me. Just pick something else then, ceramics. You get to play with clay all day. I shrug. Remember that bowl I made in Girl Scouts? Maggie laughs. Oh, the one that was flat on one side? Yep. Then you could take a dance class. That's one I've been dying to take. I would be a total flop in that class. She pans down the list. Okay, what about basketball? You'll at least get to be around cute boys. You mean sweaty boys, I hold my nose. The gym has no AC. Blech. I take the brochure back from her. Study skills, boring. Archery, I'd probably poke someone's eye out. I looked down at my watch, 4:51. I turn the watch face around so I don't have to stare at it. I think there's a science class Maggie offers. I'm done, I cover my head with my hands. Maybe I'll just borrow your phone for the rest of my life. Yeah, but then we can't call each other. I know, I sigh. I mostly want a phone so I can send Maggie 1,000 emojis. Suddenly, Maggie jumps up from her bed. I have the best idea. What? Maggie's kind of scary when she gets an idea. Sid, hear me out before you say no. Okay, I bite the inside of my lip. What if we trade places? Like I pretend to be you and take the dance class, and you pretend to be me and take the reading class. How's that going to work? She picks up the brochure. The classes are at the exact same time. We can have our parents drop us off out front and sign in without them. If my mom finds out about this, she'll flip. Then no phone forever. She's never going to find out. I don't know, I sigh. She has a way of finding things out practically before they even happen. It's like a mom sense. Maggie puts her hands together. Please, you know how much I stink at reading. I want to do something fun, something I love to do, and you love to read, so it's perfect. I don't know. What if other kids from school are there? Then they'll blow our cover. The community center isn't even in our school district, she points out. And besides, most kids from Coral Rock would probably be a sleepaway camp or maybe on a fancy vacation. Pretty please, Maggie clasps her hands together so tightly. I look down at my watch. It's 4:55, now or never. Deal. I hold up my hand. Reading Express, here I come. Maggie slaps my hand hard. Yes, Frankenstein power. At 4:57, with a whole 3 minutes to spare, I pick up the Stein's landline phone and call Mom. Sign me up for dance combo class. Dance, Mom repeats. Yes, I say before I chicken out of our plan. Okay, great, Mom says. I'm signing you up as we speak. Please don't let me regret this. What if I get stuck in the dance class all summer? The only place I like to dance is in my bedroom. And you're in, Mom says. I feel a pinch of guilt for line turn, but I try to ignore it. Okay, I give Maggie the thumbs up. She throws back a huge smile. I can't wait to buy you a dance outfit, Mom says. Maybe something silver or gold. I'm pretty sure you can wear whatever you want to the class, I say, grimacing. Sure, honey, we'll talk about it, which translates to I'll buy the clothes for you and you'll have to wear them. But I'll put up with a lot if it means I can secretly take a reading class. That's the end of the chapter.
All right. And from Sydney and Maggie, we go over to Joanna and Katrina.
Yeah. So as much as Danielle's book is fun and lighthearted with friends planning their summer, mine is not. Mine is about a young girl who really has no friends because she believes that she is in the witness protection program. And she is constantly moving, changing how she looks, changing her name, changing her identity, making up her past, never telling anyone the truth. And she herself doesn't really know the truth. The story starts out pretty simply going to Starbucks. And just like when any of us go to Starbucks, they ask her her name. And she immediately thinks of her name. It's Joanna. And then she realizes, oh, I don't know if it's with two N's or one N. And then she realizes it doesn't matter because the next day she has to pick a new name because they're already moving. And because she's constantly having to change her identity and her names, the only thing she has control over is her first name. And so she's going through the alphabet. So she started off with Anna, then she was Beatriz, then she was Carla. And even though her last name is chosen for her by this government agent that supplies the family with documents, and they're going city to city, and she really can't develop any friendships, she feels that this gives her one little bit of control. And so even though the book starts off in chapter 1 as Joanna, by chapter 2, her new name is Katrina. Eventually she does get that one friend. But by then things have already gone from bad to worse. So where I'm going to start reading, because there are so many twists and turns, and spoiler alert, small spoiler alert, because it happens pretty early on, she discovers that even though she's living a life of lies, her parents are the ones telling her the biggest lie of all, because they're not in the witness protection program. There's another reason that her parents are running and hiding themselves and her. But at the beginning of the book, she does not know this. So that is where we start, right after leaving Starbucks. They're outside in the parking lot. I hated not remembering who I used to be. It was as if none of us had existed before the accident. But I knew that we had. There was a normal life in our past. I only wished my parents would tell me about it, or at least tell me our real names. I had never slipped up, not even once. Now I was old enough to be trusted, but they didn't see it that way, which meant I had to eavesdrop and sneak together little pieces of information to learn more about who we were. B, the concern in Mom's voice pulled me out of my thoughts. Over there. Mom pointed to a car with dark-tinted windows parked on the corner. It's got Virginia plates, and the driver left the engine running. He's now standing by the Starbucks door, wearing sunglasses. He got out of the car and spoke to the women that were with us inside, but he hasn't gone in to get a drink. He's just looking around. The ability to quickly notice even the smallest details was a trait that made Mom an excellent lookout. It also made her a little paranoid. I slumped down in my seat. This wasn't the first time I'd been in this type of situation. It's probably nothing, Dad said, but his demeanor had changed, and I could hear a bit of an edge in his voice. X suggested the move this time only as a precaution. How could they find us here in the middle of nowhere? Agent X. That was the name of our contact in the witness protection program. The person in charge of keeping us safe. All I knew about him was that Mom and Dad trusted him above everyone else, because Dad had known him in the before time. I just don't like it, Mom insisted. Let's get out of here. Dad pulled out of the parking lot and headed to the main road. The van, like every car we'd ever had, was old, but it was in good enough shape to get us where we needed to go. All right, which way, L? B and L. That's how my parents referred to each other. It was a way to simplify things and avoid messing up each other's names. It also made sense since Dad always used different names that either started with a B, like Bradley or Bernard, or a name like William or Robert, whose nickname could be Bill or Bob. Mom did the same thing, except hers were usually Spanish-sounding names, like Lucia or Leticia. Make a left on the main road. Mom studied the map in her hands. The highway should be up ahead. I turned around and popped my head over the top of the seat, just in time to see the man jump into his car. Mom had also been watching him through the side view mirror. We need to go faster, now. I got it. Dad's fingers were clenched tight around the steering wheel, but he remained with the flow of traffic as our van crossed the intersection and approached the on-ramp for the highway. I'm trying to blend in. Dad? My voice cracked a little. I knew the story about the car accident that had almost killed my mother and me. It's what had started everything. A car had run Mom off the road in order to send a message about what happens to people who testify against the cartel. Mom hadn't been seriously hurt, but I'd barely survived. The guy, he's still back there, and I think he's going to get on the highway too. This time Dad floored the gas pedal and we lurched forward, passing several cars. The van seemed to shake with the excitement at being pushed to its limit. I glanced ahead at the empty highway and then back at the car that was growing ever closer to us. He's gaining on us. Go faster! Suddenly, Dad slammed on the brakes and I went tumbling forward, slamming my head against the back of the bucket seat. The mysterious car quickly switched lanes and zoomed by, not even giving us a second look. You okay back there? Dad called out. I'm okay, I said, rubbing my forehead. Should have had my seatbelt on. You always need to have it on. His eyes met mine for an instant through the rearview mirror. But if you got scraped up or anything, the medicine bag is in between the seats. The blue liquid for cuts and scrapes is in there. I'm okay, I repeated, buckling myself up. I don't need it. Mom chuckled nervously as we resumed to normal speed. Guess that was a little bit of an overreaction on my part? Dad let out a deep breath. You think? Then he cracked a smile. But it's good practice. He reached over and patted her hand. You never know. I slumped back into my seat. My heart was still racing, but everything was back to normal. Or at least our version of normal. This was the only life I knew. A life on the run. Never revealing who we were. Never dropping our guard. Never forgetting that there were people who wanted us dead. Always wondering if this would be the day they'd find us. And that's the end of chapter 1.
That's what I did, start this book late at night. One reason you won't be able to go to sleep.
my evil blood.
So one thing that Joanna/Katrina says at the beginning of this book is that friendships take time. Can you guys tell us a little bit about your friendship, how you met, and
We're not friends.
Oh, wow. Just kidding. And like the importance of having a writing friendship.
I mean, I think having a writing friendship is critical. I mean, for me, knowing that whatever I'm working on, I can brainstorm with Danielle and she will give me the honest feedback because, you know, the people sometimes that are closest to us, like my husband, and, you know, if I show him something, he always has the same response of, oh, it's wonderful, I wouldn't change a thing, it's perfect. And then I give it to Danielle, and Danielle's like, and that's what I need. I need someone to tell me the good, the bad, and the ugly to make me a better writer. And, you know, you have to have a level of trust and respect. And I think that's what we have, or at least I have for her.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with everything that Christina said. And it's also like when you get, you know, stuck with something, it's frustrating when you're writing a novel and when you have somebody you can say, hey, I don't know what I should do now. Like, okay, this is what just happened. And for them to say, okay, let me help you out of that, you know, jam, that bind. And you know, we kind of know what each other is working on. And even if we're not physically, we used to live in the same city. We meet a lot and we both lived in Miami. So that was really nice. But we could pick up the phone or just, you know, like email or text back and forth. Okay, what about this? So what about that?
Yeah.
And that's really, it's really nice.
Oh, awesome. Yes, I totally agree. Both of these books are middle grade, but obviously not the same kind of middle grade. So can you guys talk a little bit about like how you started and, you know, how you started your novel and kind of what your process is a little bit?
I started the novel, it's sometimes difficult to talk about this novel because there are so many twists, and I love taking the reader along the journey thinking it's going this way and then surprising them and going, oh, but we're going this way, and then, oh yeah, no, it's still a different direction. But it originated with a real news story about, very careful with how I thread this, about an event that actually happened to a young girl. So something actually happened that made me curious.
Okay.
And then I didn't know I was going to write a book about it. I just thought it was interesting. And then Danielle and I would write a lot at Starbucks. And then one day, this idea of this girl ordering her drink at Starbucks, just, and not knowing exactly how to spell her name, I was like, well, why wouldn't she know her name? And why would she be changing names? And it kind of meshed together with this real news story. And all of a sudden, the idea started coming to light.
So cool.
So
Man, I like how you worked in that perfect circle of Starbucks.
yeah,
I know.
Starbucks, if you're watching, I would like to sponsor. Free coffee for life.
For my friend.
For my writing partner. Wonderful moderator.
What about you, Danielle? Like, what? How did you? And I have to say, like, now you've hit the writing trifecta because you had 3 young adult books, you have a picture book, and now you've hit like middle grade. So
Back to the middle. Yeah, this story started out from a small idea. My oldest son, when he was in 5th grade, he was pretty shy, and he came up to me, and he was always a good speller, and he said, I don't want to, try out for the spelling bee. And I said, why? He said, because I might win. And he didn't want to do it because he said he didn't like the idea of going like to the county spelling bee on a big stage where he didn't know anybody, and he thought that was really daunting. And I said, wow, like, what is it like if you kind of hold yourself back from something because you don't want to be part of the bigger product, even though you're good at that task. And I started thinking about, well, it's a transition also from 5th to 6th grade. You're going to that big stage. You're the big fish in 5th grade. And then when you get to 6th grade, you kind of go all the way down to the bottom again. And I don't think there's enough books about that transition. Transitioning to middle school is hard. And so I kind of put those 2 things together, and that's how Sydney Frankel was born.
I love this. Sometimes it's just the tiniest little spark.
Yeah.
It won't leave you alone.
Yeah, I know, it does kind of nod you.
Yeah. So in both of your stories, you also have a little bit of your identities, being Cuban American, being Jewish, but it's not about that identity. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Do you want?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think it's important that there be different types of stories. That there are stories where the central theme is about your race or your culture or your ethnicity. It could be an immigrant story, and those are important. Those are important stories to tell. But there are also just fun, real life, like Danielle's or adventure stories that happen to have characters that bring something else to the table. It's not about their religion or their ethnicity or the languages they speak or don't speak. That just is part of who they are. That is part of what they are bringing to the table. And I think it's important to see them as the protagonist of the story, because in a sense, we're all the main characters of our own stories, and we need to see each other as central figures, not just as the sidekick, also in the starring role. And I think all kids need to see the diverseness of our world in the stories we read.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of the reason my character, her mother is Cuban and she does speak Spanish, but it's not a central theme of the book. It's just a component of her.
Right.
No, I agree with Christina. I mean, this book, I knew that I wanted it to be a contemporary book about a girl that is Jewish, but it's not everything centers around that. I wanted this book to be a book for everybody where they could kind of find themselves. It takes place in a summer class where there's all types of students, and Sydney happens to be a girl that lives in Miami that is Jewish, and that is just part of who she is, and she doesn't have to, everything doesn't have to be about that, but it's part of her everyday life. So you'll see some things about, Judaism in the book, but it's a story that I wanted everybody to be able to relate to in different ways. And so that was, what I focused on for this particular novel.
What is the first thing you knew about Katrina?
That she didn't know what her
Okay,
her name, that
Yes.
she didn't remember how to spell her name. It really was that simple, because to my benefit and to my detriment, I don't plan out a story. I just don't. I get a big idea. I know how my story is going to end. I wait until I kind of figure out where it's going to start, and then I just use that as like my North Star, and I just know that I have to head in that direction, and I start writing, and the reader side of my brain is trying to guess what's going to happen next, like I do like when I'm watching any TV show or murder mystery. I'm trying to figure out who did it. And then the writer side of my brain is going, ha ha, you're wrong! And trying to come up with a twist or a turn, so that the reader side of my brain is still like always on the edge of her seat and trying to figure it out. Sometimes I kind of twist myself up into a pretzel and I'm like, wait, where am I again? And I have to recenter and refocus to get to that North Star to the ending. But yeah, so I just kind of,
I love that. I love the writer brain and the reader brain
Yeah.
duking it out. What about you? What did it look like? So you knew that Sydney was going to be a very shy person, but is there anything else that you were like?
I knew that she had a sense of humor.
Oh yeah,
I think sometimes people might think, shy people who don't have a sense of humor because they're quiet, but really they're thinking of things like under their breath.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So that was really important. I wanted this to be a humorous, novel, heartfelt but humorous, and I wanted her humor to be able to come through in the novel.
Definitely. What about we're all parents, so what about the parent relationship? I think it's really interesting how you guys like negotiate that, because a lot of times we're trying to, as writers, we're trying to kick the parents out as quickly as we can.
yeah.
So okay, I'm going to start with you because I think they're both sophisticated, but the conflict is a little bit more head on.
Yeah, because her mom especially wants her to kind of grow up. Her mom is pregnant, and she knows that the new baby is going to take a lot of her time, and Sydney's going to middle school, and she wants her to be more self-assured and, kind of a little bit, move on her own in the sense of sticking up for herself. And so this is the first time Sydney's kind of, really pulled one over on her parents. There's a lot of hijinks in the book. And in order for that to happen, she has to tell some white lies in this book, and it's how she deals with it. And I won't give, too much away of the story, but, obviously she feels guilty about this. And so she kind of has to wrestle with this, throughout the book. So, yeah, it's basically what she has to deal with. And you'll see, the relationships evolve in the book, and she has to learn, to really, stick up for herself. So,
And then the way that the parent-child relationship changes right around that age is so.
Yeah,
it's like if you guys are parent, I figured it out. You're like, oh no, I didn't.
exactly. That's true.
And then on yours, I feel like sometimes it's like almost like a team, but then sometimes it's like no.
The parent relationship, she feels that that her parents are not being honest with her, which obviously they're not. So there's this, her trying to gather information, and then I do kick the parents out. Mom gets kidnapped, you're on your own. But then, what she does in the sense of betrayal as she finds the truth, and she still wants to save her parents. But she has this sense of betrayal, and what she does when she finally learns the full scope of what is happening. And sometimes I think she realizes that sometimes lies are told for thinking that they are helping the person or protecting the person. When, even if the truth were to hurt, it's better to be honest. And then, you know, it's that sense of just kind of coming to terms with parents being flawed.
Yeah.
And being flawed and still finding a way to come back together and have some type of acceptance when you're still a child. I mean, she is a child still, as crazy of an adventure that she does go on, you know, she still relies on her parents and she loves her parents. But there is this betrayal that has happened. So what does she do?
Yeah, that's
Try not to give away too much.
There's a lot of tension in this book.
There's a lot of tension. A lot of twists.
So you mentioned that like you guys used to meet up at Starbucks and write. Like we all used to leave the house and do things. So like, so how did the pandemic like affect your writing? Affect you as writers? Like, do you have any like stories you want to share about like writing during a pandemic?
I know, it's like, I think I had like ups and downs. I had moved, you know, about 5 months before the pandemic, so that was a little tough because, you know, we had like our little routine going on, and I had my, you know, you kind of write at, you know, the same kind of spots. So I did miss that. And then when the pandemic, it's a little bit like, oh my God, you know, everybody, we're all in a big panic. But I did find that when I found time to write, you know, I felt a little bit more myself. I think there were times when you just couldn't write, you know, you have to realize not to be hard on yourself and realize that things will come. And I did, you know, end up writing stuff during the pandemic. And I was happy to be, you know, writing. Just, you know, I missed my Starbucks coffee.
Or just that like where you can go to the place and your brain knows like, okay, we're in the place, it's time to write.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, and you don't have to worry about, like, if I'm always at home, like, I worry about, oh, trip at the laundry.
It was me discovering how loud everyone in my family was. Like,
What
what about you?
Yeah, I didn't write much during at the beginning of the pandemic. I mean, this book was written prior to the pandemic. I have a graphic novel that comes out next year. That was also written prior to the pandemic. It's just taken a long time because I'm not an illustrator, so you know that's been in the works. And then I have another book that comes out next October, which I did write towards the end of 20. What year are we in? Towards the end.
2020.
First time it was 2020. Yeah, I had to start writing that one, and that became difficult because I had taken like a hiatus for like, I don't know, 5 months or more of no writing, of just doing other things, and it was difficult. It was difficult to kind of force myself to write from home. I was not used to that.
Yeah.
And so that was difficult. But luckily this book had been done. I think the only thing that was left of this book during the pandemic were like copy edits.
Oh.
So
Okay.
it was not too bad.
That's a good kind of work. When you're a
Yeah.
little stuck, you're like,
Exactly.
okay.
I can look over the copy edits. You know.
Yes.
And my poor copy editors, I mean, God bless them. They probably are like looking at me going, bless her heart, she does not know how to use a copy editor. I mean, I had great teachers, but somehow punctuation and semicolons, you know, commas, I put them all in the wrong places.
Oh.
I'm like, you know, that's just whack.
So I was thinking like for your copy editors, like just to make sure that they're following the twists and the turns and where you are. And,
I think they just kind of sometimes just go, you know what she's talking about.
Yeah, like you and I are both lawyers.
Yeah.
Like, do you think that's part of your lawyer brain?
So.
Yeah.
I think so. I think it's that maybe, you know, in my, I don't know if you're still a practicing lawyer. Yeah, I'm totally in recovery. I don't practice really anymore. But it's that brain of, you know, the lawyer, like sometimes, you know, sometimes can be stranger than fiction, but with all those twists and turns. And so those definitely make their way.
Do you think, so you have this, you have these great books in this, action-packed genre, but your first book was like more historical fiction, The Red Umbrella. So what can you talk about the genres that attract you as a writer? Like, they're so different.
Yeah, they're very different, and now even the graphic novels.
Yeah.
So I think as a writer, it's the same as being a reader. It's whatever mood you're in. There's sometimes you're in the mood to read something, action-packed, or even going to the movies. Sometimes you want to see a Bond film, or sometimes you want to see, some type of documentary, and it's that idea. As I think it's because I'm simultaneously the reader and the writer within me. And usually the book I write is the book I wish I could read that doesn't exist.
Okay.
So it has to be an idea I find interesting enough that it already existed, I would buy that book to read. But since it doesn't, I feel like, well, now I will create it so that it does exist. So.
Right. Yeah. I hear you.
I think, and Danielle too. Danielle's gone through, it's not just the genres, it's like some of you are so musical. I always envy Danielle's books. Her YA books always have some type of artistic component, and even Sydney Frankel.
Well, I think it's the thing, like for my first book, she works at a radio station, which is something that I did, which I really enjoyed, so I wanted to write about. And then for the second novel, he's a musician, and I secretly wish I could be a musician. So, if you can't do it, you can write about it.
Right.
So I think some of that goes into my work, and it's something I want to write about. I always like learning new things, so then I like to write about those things. If I find something I'm really interested in, even it's something small, like in Sydney Frankel, there's a turtle in the book, and I'm like, oh, turtles are so cute. So I wanted to put a turtle, and I had to learn a little bit about caring for a turtle. I didn't get a turtle, but I think I like those kind of components and putting things in books. The next book I can't talk much about it because it's not announced yet, but I do have a picture book biography coming out in 2023, and it's historical, and I really enjoy doing the research during the book.
And I just realized that even more of your books, like Pure Red is like an artist, and then in Sydney Frankel it's dance. There's dance, and even the picture books. Now I'm like her publicity. And in Tap Tap, it's the actual bus is a like moving piece of art. So like
Is that essential?
Mine are just spies.
I also want to be an artist.
That's
Okay.
not spies.
Well, but now you're getting me on the spot.
That is true. I'm encouraging her to write more spy stories. I'm like, come on, be a spy like me.
You do a crossover.
I'll put some art in mine, and then you put some spies.
There you
It's
go.
only fair.
Now there's so Sydney is not a reluctant reader, but she's in a class that's kind of like is about for reluctant readers.
Yeah,
Right.
she loves to read, but she was from the description of the class, it's called Reading Express. So as a kid, she can't really tell it's for reluctant readers, and she loves to read. So why not take a class where you can read? You don't have to talk to anybody. That's what she thinks the class is about. So that's why she's dying to take that. And so Maggie, who is a reluctant reader, of course, that's what her mom wanted her to take. So that it's not exactly what Sydney thought when she gets to the class, but that's what she's kind of hoping for.
Do you think this is a book for reluctant readers? Like, do you think of it that way?
I think so. I think it really is a book for everybody, but it's definitely, hopefully reluctant readers would be drawn to it. And hopefully they would, see themselves in some of the characters in the book. So I sure hope so.
Cool. Now, of course, a major theme is like being afraid to speak in public, which a lot of us, cope with that. Is it for you? But you were a DJ. Like, do you have that thing?
Well, I used to be. I was definitely shy growing up. When I moved to the U.S. when I was little from South Africa, I was really quiet. Like I didn't, want to talk to anybody, and it was, a big jump moving to obviously a totally different country. And I was pretty shy going through middle school. I started to open up a bit in high school, so definitely, obviously I can relate to a lot of the stuff that Cindy's going through, the anxiety of, being speaking in front of everybody. Sydney has, extreme anxiety because she gets kind of red and blotchy, and it's something that she has to overcome. But it definitely comes from a place that I know. Being in the radio, you're kind of hiding behind them. You don't have to. You're in when you are on, radio. You're not with like hardly anybody in the station, so you're almost like you feel like you're broadcasting, to yourself. So that's what's a little bit different about radio, like traditional radio.
Do you think most DJs are more shy people or more like extroverted people?
I do think it's a bit of both because I did intern in a lot of radio stations in Boston during college, so I definitely saw like a wide range of personalities.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe I'm trying to think of it depends on the time of the day. I always think the morning show people were really like peppy. Or maybe the nighttime DJs.
Okay, yeah. That's so interesting. I like that idea of like, being like an introverted person but like being attracted to something like
Yeah, I mean that's what my first book, Shrinking Violet, is about. It's, her hiding behind the mic.
which was turned into
Disney
movie. Rebel Radio.
Radio
Rebel. Okay,
Yeah.
Radio Rebel. Yeah, I can look that up. All right, so I've been reading these questions from Madeline that she prepared. The last part is a speed round. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Okay, and then we'll move on to audience questions. So, here we go, and you guys just shout it out. All right. If your story were a TV show, what channel would it be on and why?
Disney Channel.
All right. We set that up nicely.
Agreed, Disney Channel.
Okay. All right. Something you once had in your story, but ended up on the cutting room floor. Didn't make it.
Aliens.
Whoa.
True.
All right.
I totally was going with the alien word. That's all. So you know, not aliens.
Alien free.
Mine was an emergency birth for mom. It was not an alien.
Sometimes they look like it. Okay. All right. Sequel or one-off?
It's a standalone book,
Okay.
unless Disney wants it, and I'll make another.
Did it for the Disney. I'd love to write from Maggie's point of view.
All right. All right. Now we kind of touched on this, but plotter or pantser?
Full on pantser.
Full on pantser, and
I'm right down the middle.
right down the middle.
Pantser means you write by the seat of your pants with no plot. No outline. With a plot, no outline.
Like a vague idea.
Yeah.
All right. The first book you saw yourself in was.
Mine is Nancy Drew, and I saw myself only because the character of Jo had dark hair, and it was one of the first times I could at least say, well, at least she has dark hair like me. I felt like I was more Nancy Drew, but at least Jo had dark hair. I never really saw myself in a book.
Yeah, back when dark hair kind of does things.
Yeah, dark hair meant
Yeah, I don't really have a character that I said, oh, really, that was me. I mean, I did like, Ramona, so since I was the older sister, I could be Jesus, but I didn't have short hair. So then, back then, it's like, what does my hair look like? Like Christina said. But then they do sibling dynamics.
Very nice, very nice. If your book were on a genealogical chart, man, thanks, Madeline.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah. Where would it be? Like what would it be related to?
My book would be related to Jake Burke's book called Greetings from Witness Protection.
Okay.
Well, I hate to compare myself to her, but I would say a lot of people were at least in the blurs. They say Ramona, so I'll say a little bit.
I would agree.
Yes, yes, definitely. What is your writing superpower? Come on, Brett.
I would say voice.
Voice.
Yeah.
Twists and turns.
Twists and turns. All right. What is your favorite punctuation mark?
Definitely not the comma. Not the comma. I guess it's the three dots, the dot, the ellipses.
Okay.
I like the M dash.
The M dash.
Mhm.
Yes, that's a good one.
I usually use the ellipses in place of commas because I'm like,
You can't correct them. It's correct. You know there's an M dash and an N dash?
Yeah,
I did not.
I do. M dash is long. Yeah.
The one's longer, one's shorter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll
Okay.
go at the end.
All right. Drink of choice while you write.
probably coffee to start, water throughout.
Okay.
Stay hydrated.
Stay hydrated.
Well, yeah, I'll start with coffee and then I'll hydrate with water, and then at night, if I read at night, then I have to drink tea.
Tea. Okay. Very good. And what is something new that you did during the pandemic?
I baked bread once. I did. I made banana bread one time. Yeah, it was all
All right.
check mark.
There you go. All
I
right.
did that one. So that's one thing I did during the pandemic.
Back with those who did like cute and homesteady for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I was like, oh, banana bread first.
Yes.
All right now.
I would say I've watched more TV, which is new for me,
Yeah.
than I've ever watched. I played more, I found some more board games I liked. So.
Ah.
And did some puzzles. So.
Do you have a board game recommendation?
That's Secret Codes. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm bringing you over to my side, aren't I? So
Yeah.
welcome to the dark side
Yes,
of middle
that's right.
grade.
Yeah, no, it's a fun game.
Is that where you like have to guess the words?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great game.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of a perfect reference.
Yeah, there you go.
You guys are good at this. All right. So, do we have any questions from the audience? From the authors?
Don't all shout out at once, please.
In the back.
What was the hardest part of writing both of your books?
For me, the hardest part was maybe Christina's easiest part was the twist. How are we going to pull this over on the parents and keep the audience going and keep the snowball effect going? And for that, it was really nice to have my partner in crime at Starbucks, and we would talk about it and go back and forth. So that was for me. Believe it or not, as much as I love twists, sometimes I do get a little carried away. So yeah, let's just throw aliens in there. Luckily, I have a wonderful critique partner and a great editor. And sometimes when even they would be like, okay, so it's a double agent, now a triple agent, crossing back to, I was like, yeah, I think I've twisted it up one too many times. Okay, take out the alien, take out one less twist, and we'll keep it a little simpler. Yeah. So I think that was it, just trying to sometimes streamline the twists.
As a current lawyer, I
Still in it.
yes, many, as you know, many lawyers are frustrated writers, and they always, I've been working on this in my weekends and whatever. How did you get your start? Where you just said, I'm doing this, because I hear a lot of people say, I want to be a writer, and then then just start writing.
Yeah.
I don't have to get an interview, just start writing.
You talk
All
like
three of you have that, so I'm curious.
I started when I was at home with my kids, but I've gone back. I work part-time, and I think that's probably a pretty good balance for me as far as getting work. But I heard the lawyer from Chicago who writes Scott Turow.
yeah.
He would write on he would sit on the L and write. I think in some ways it's more important to have that time of day that you've just kind of designated in your head that this hour, this half an hour, I'm gonna make for writing. Just keep it on your calendar, and it's tricky. It's tricky because writing is not steady income.
Yeah, I mean, for me, when I first started, I was full-time mom, part-time lawyer, and trying to pursue this writing thing that I didn't know if it was going to go anywhere. And I was writing at night after the kids went to bed. And so I would spend an hour and a half writing, just trying to improve, trying to see which story would actually resonate. Once I had my big break and was able to think, well, I think I can actually make a go of this and devote myself more to this, it switched from doing it at nighttime to doing it while the kids were in school. So I would drop them off at school. People thought I was actually, and Danielle and I would be at Starbucks from like 8 to 2:30, and they were like, "Are you like virtual online teachers or something?" So we were like, 2:30, we gotta go. So I think it is that finding a little bit of time. And as lawyers, I do know a lot of lawyers who are writers or want to be writers. And I think it's that, I think people who naturally love or don't mind reading a lot of things have that pull towards books that will entertain, that seem to get our minds off of it. And we know that we have that, at least a basic writing skill. One thing I did discover early on, which was when I was writing my books, which were middle grade, it still sometimes sounded like a lawyer. And like the three of us know that sometimes lawyers don't even like each other's writing. Like, we don't want to read more lawyer stuff. So imagine a kid reading a lawyer trying to tell him something. So it was not going well until like you have to find your voice. And there is a definite different voice.
Yes.
From lawyer to whether you're writing adult fiction or nonfiction or kids, you just have to find that voice. So
I was not a lawyer, but I will say you have to be flexible. Like when I started, I do come from the background of writing, but since when you have a degree in creative writing, you cannot find a job in creative writing. I did other things. I worked for a computer company and I was a teacher. But when I started writing, really being more serious about it, I started when I had a baby, and then I started writing, in the evening. And then when, you can't do that anymore because the kids go to bed later, and then you have to be able to move to the morning. So I was an evening writer, but then when the kids go to bed later and later, you lose that time, and you have to be able to adjust and say, now I'm going to write in the morning. Okay, this time I have time in the afternoon. So it's more about, carving out the time when you can find it. And then, just saying, okay, no one has to read this. I'm just going to get this down on the paper. And it could be the worst thing ever, but I'll continue on tomorrow. And then tomorrow you hopefully get there and say, yeah, that wasn't so bad, So I think the flexibility is key.
Yeah.
And I will say that a lot of people think that in order to be a writer, you need to have taken certain classes, creative writing classes, being an English major, creating. I never took a creative writing class in my life. I did not take. In college, I didn't even have to take English because I had AP credits, and I was an accounting major. So it was just a strange path I took, but I loved books. So books were my education in finding my voice, that and finding a writer's group that included Danielle. That's where I first met Danielle, and learning from other writers. So if that's something you want to do, I would pursue it that way.
I will throw in that there's a great resource for people who live around here called the Writers Center. And their website is writer.org, and that's why I took some light classes, and they have some online classes too. So if you can't make yourself trek out there, that's also a really good resource. Yeah, but great question. Any other questions? Well, thank you all so much for coming out, and for all the folks online who joined us. It was a great hour.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And you can
Working with what's here.
Thank you, all three of you, for joining us today. And we have some books back at the counter for y'all to sign. And if anyone wants a personalized copy, we have some books back there. Feel free to stick around and browse for a little bit. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Oh my God, you're hilarious.